up a seat at the bar to join us for another episode of McAnally's Pubcast, a podcast exploring the fun and fantastical mind of Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files series. Host Tanzan, Maggie, and me bring you another round of literary analysis on this immense, immersive, and colorful environment inhabited by Harry Dresden, the world's only licensed private investigator and professional wizard. Join an active and engaged community of new and die-hard dedicated fans focused on the fabulous themes, theories, characters, context, lore, and more. This is McAnally's Dresden Files Pubcast by Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk.
Welcome to the McAnally's Pubcast, brought to you by Free Flow Rambling. This is episode 9.9, Fee Fi Fo Grum, where we are covering the novel Summer Night. My name is Tanzan, I'm joined by Maggie.
Hello, hello.
And Jess.
Alpha.
Chapter 10. Dresden descends into his lab in search of information after recovering from an unsettling dream of Susan. Harry learns more about the Sidhe court structure from Bob in hopes to narrow down a suspect in the death of Ronald Reuel. Dresden is dreaming of Susan. The dream began with a kiss.
Usually does.
It began with a kiss, and it would end up like this.
It was only a kiss. It was only a kiss.
He sits down on his couch just for a minute to recover from everything and, immediately passes out. And it's funny, because he's like, apparently my subconscious had something on its mind. He's like, we met. He's kind of a jerk.
So it's funny, in the Percy Jackson universe, demigods are plagued by not really prophetic, but they can see what the gods or the titans or the bad guys are doing while they dream. They get transported and they learn a little bit every time they go to bed. And it's usually not really a good thing. It's nice to gain the information, but for them it's always just fuck, they wake up so stressed out and they've got they've just seen these horrible things and whatever, right? So it's just a little bit funny where it's on the whole, a demigod going to sleep means you're gonna wake up with more problems than you had before you went to bed. And it's like Harry too. It's every time he goes to sleep, he just wakes up with more problems.
Generally speaking, yeah. Yeah, the last time we found out what he dreamed about, he got eaten by the shadow thing. What was it called? The nightmare. Now he goes to dream, he gets eaten by Susan. It's he just... Yeah.
I was impressed by the word use for Butcher did. Butcher uses the word aquiline to describe Susan's face. And I wasn't familiar with the term, so I looked it up.
Eagle featured?
Yes, it was eagle-like. What?
Yes, it's
really? Yeah. That puts a new slant on Susan for me.
I was gonna say usually it's used more so, to describe kind of like a bit of a hook nose or something, which I don't think Susan, but I think it also is used sometimes, unless Butcher has the wrong definition of it.
Now I think of Sam the Eagle when I think of Susan.
No. Oh my god, that makes me think I read a thing yesterday, probably.
So I hope it just means more just angular,
A little
or even
bit.
just the way the vampire sort of sharpens features,
Yeah.
Or maybe, yeah.
A little bit maybe. With the... But yeah, I was going to say, just read yesterday where there's someone... It was... Why does Disney keep doing all these live action remakes? They're we have the Muppets. They should do a Muppet remake. And then they're so now you're
well,
Sam
first of all, I hate the Muppets, so...
They tried to reboot the Muppets all the time, and it keeps failing miserably.
Okay, thankfully.
But this little post was kind of funny, because then they're we'll just have, the Beast be, a regular human being, and all the Muppets think he's so, hideously disfigured, and then at the end of the movie, he turns into, a beautiful Muppet, And, it was a little bit funny that way. I was I kind of want that version, but... Yes, let's just Muppetize the Dresden Files.
I just love to think of, I don't know who they bring on the Muppets, but, they throw Chris Evans on or something like that, and everyone's he's hideous! Up until he turns into a Muppet.
Yeah, there you go. Aqualung. Yeah, I don't know that it would have been the first thing I would have used.
Weird etymology, though. How does that word equal eagle?
See, and I would have thought horse-like.
And a lot of... Yeah, because it sounds more like equine.
Yeah.
Aquiline. Which actually I think would be less flattering, because usually when somebody's horse face, that's really not... Or at least
I'm not sure eagle-like is much better,
okay, but eagles can be, majestic and sharp, and you know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily... Whereas horse-faced is usually pretty...
Not much variety in a horse face.
Yeah. So, So anyways, I guess whatever the origins terms, whatever, but yeah.
We just ignore that description.
Supposedly he meant it in a good way, because everything else he's saying is how gorgeous she is. So, whatever. So yeah, they start getting all touchy-feely, and he's like trying to ask her if she's alright, and she doesn't answer. And then, yeah, it gets really graphic, only not really, because he kind of, romance novel.
It's like a dream,
euphemisms it all, and...
Nothing but need, animal, carnal.
Carnal?
Carnal. I pushed her against a wall in the dim scarlet light, and she wrapped herself around me. Nice little flash forward to the future.
But yeah, there's all kinds of other slim, pale, vampy hands reaching out to grab her, and like this club thing, and
those hands, what reminded me of, in Labyrinth, when Jennifer Connelly is like, she's going down this well thing, and all the hands are like bringing her down. That's what it totally reminded me of.
Only vaguely. I've only ever seen that movie like once. I'm not super familiar with Labyrinth, unfortunately.
Yeah. And the whole scene is just a bunch of hands that are like...
drag her down.
Yeah. That's what it totally made me think of.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yes, yeah.
Really relaxing dream.
It's always when you have just
when you have a dream and someone starts comparing it to the Labyrinth.
Body hands that are just
pretty shit
dream. So he's, trying to be like, wait, no, don't go in there. Come with me and wait. But of course, he inevitably gives in, as always.
She eats him.
Yeah.
Never pleasant.
I guess in this world you can die in your dreams.
So that's another thing, yeah. Where's this conscious dreaming now, Dresden? You should, after the fucking nightmare, you should, never be a murderer.
You should be an expert by now. It's like, no, let's just keep making out.
Everything should just be.
Part of your, PTSD for me would be, all right, I double ward the house, and I put in, a steel door, and I also say, my fucking, anti-dream potion every night.
Yeah, right? Fuck mirrors. He gets attacked in his dreams more often.
Yeah.
But...
well, nothing fighting against your subconscious.
Yeah, I guess, right? So whatever, he has his dream, and then of
can't
course,
fight himself.
Right at that pivotal moment, yes, she strikes, he dies, she turns, he's like, oh no, and then he wakes up,
bolts out of bed.
So it is kind of funny.
Requires a cold shower.
Yeah, I was gonna say. He's like, most of the time it
still
sucks
hot.
balls, but sometimes there's no replacement for a cold shower. So yes, so at least he has that advantage, which is also how he survived, he says, for so many years before he got a regular girlfriend, too. Because he's like, it's good when you have to take a cold shower every fucking morning, especially in the middle of winter. So then he decides to get down to work. So
he cleaned up first of all.
He finally shaves. Woo!
Well, okay, yes.
He's on the job now.
While he's in that cold shower, yes. Reaches for that little shaving mirror and gets rid of that.
Compact.
It's compact and his straight razor.
Yeah.
Which is funny because they were commenting on that on the Discord too. And they're like, yeah, no, I would stick with my safety razor. But, because granted, I get him not having the electric razor, but he could still use a regular 4-blade mock Gillette, whatever. But he's like, no, he doesn't even have a plastic, disposable or he's got literally a straight razor.
It's gotta be fancy
He's just got, he's like, much as he likes to mock all those old musty dusty wizards that hide out in their towers and have no idea what's going on in the world, but he still likes to whip out his straight razor every now and again.
He's such a fuddy-duddy at heart.
All right. Finally cleans up a little bit and
goes to the lab. His lab is particularly organized, unlike the rest of his house. It shows a little bit where his focus has been. It's just been very...
That needs to be...
magic-oriented.
Yeah, he really wants this to find this and for it to work, so he needs to know where his shit is. And
the only area that isn't clean is Bob's area. Go figure.
Because that's, Bob's little collection of things. Well, plus he's also learned, he started being neater about it after he almost got eaten by a toad demon. Because he'd he had a protection circle, but he ended up just throwing crap all over it and had to dig it out and almost didn't get it in time. So he started making sure that was clean. And then now that he's, basically living all of his time and energy down there, it's the whole thing is army regulation.
Right.
But yes, Bob has his books and magazines and candles and a bow that was wrapped around a girl.
Yes. A little callback. I like that.
Yeah. So yeah. And
I'll guess you where the ribbon was. I'll let you guess where the ribbon was.
Yeah.
Bob certainly guessed.
Right. But he's also I like how it's not just that everything's put away and labeled, but it's how much was left and when he'd acquired it and how finite expiration
Obsessive,
dates
yeah.
and things, and not just like, oh yeah, there's like some depleted uranium in here. It's like, no, there's like 4.2 ounces of uranium collected on blah blah blah, and it'll be good until. And
Dresden wakes Bob. And it just makes me wonder if does he always just sleep in his spare time? He's just always always waking him up.
He's got a sick bachelor pad, man.
we don't know that.
Yeah,
So
he still does.
he does. I was gonna say it's not necessarily, I suppose, that, but yeah, like you say, we just, like, as he explains here, that Bob just kind of habit. So maybe it's kind of like your Alexa or whatever. It's not that he's like sleeping, but he's just like off doing his own spirit thing. It's
he
like
got
the
so much
equivalent of
knowledge in
having
him.
like his door closed or something on his.
He's defragging.
He's defragging. Yeah, exactly. Right. Or it could totally be like, dogs and stuff like that, right? They're like, if your dog is like, trained and like not over anxious and things like that, they're like, basically, like, you have to go to work, they'll just like sleep all day. Then it's obviously not a problem because you come home and play with your dog and then you go to bed and the dog goes back to bed and sleeps all night, So it's like, if you're up and about, the dog will be up and about during the day, but if it's like got nothing better to do, cats and dogs and whatever will just like, okay, I'll go sleep. Like,
Same.
so, yeah, well, ditto. But so I'm like, maybe that's all Bob, I was like, maybe it could just be, he's like, hey, well, there's like fucking nobody here to talk to because here's the only person in my life. So yeah, either he just legit like sleeps like a cat or something for like 18 to 20 hours a day, or he's just, off doing his own thing.
Well,
That's Harry's like, hey, wake up, I need you now, like, come out.
When you're that smart, like, you can just, like, reread a book or, like, in your head all day long. Like, you're fine. Like, you've remembered
Right.
everything you've ever read, essentially, or ever learned. Like, all day organizing those thoughts would keep me entertained, If you could really remember them, it's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go back to, like, that, like, college credit I took one year. Like, I don't know,
Maybe.
like...
Although, on the other hand, because Bob has so much and has been around for so long, like, has he been over everything 10,000 times? And it's
Well,
like, I
still,
don't
he
fucking wanna
goes
read this
through
book
those
again.
Victoria magazine catalogs all day, every day.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Those would keep him entertained.
Yeah.
Those are worth a re-look or a read.
Dresden updates Bob on the reign of toads, and Bob just interrupts Dresden and tells him that there's no cure for vampirism, and proceeds to call him Captain Ahab.
Yeah.
So
He's
for
like-
those of you that don't know who Captain Ahab is, it's a Moby Dick reference. It's a story of a seaman obsessed with getting revenge on a white whale, which ultimately leads to his death.
She only wanted to give you that explanation so she could say semen.
Seaman.
I'm working with children.
Well, we have to. It's only fair that you do too.
Gotta stay youthful.
But yes, but I do kind of like
Moby Dick.
Yes, we were talking about Moby Dick semen. So he likes, so he's like,
That joke's never
well, that's
been
it.
made before.
He doesn't, he doesn't actually get to fill him in on what's, because he asked about the reign of toad and if the kid was right. So he told him that he was going to go off to check this out because Will was bugging him. But that's it. He's like, I've got a difficult situation, and that's where Bob cuts him off and is like, it's not because he thinks he's still going on about, so he hasn't had a chance to fill him in on the new problem yet. But he's like, ugh, like Bob is like, you think people haven't looked for it? And Harry's like, I haven't looked for a cure. I'm like,
Okay.
well, okay, Harry.
You're so special.
Hey, maybe other people haven't had the same motivation or
A little bit desperate, a little bit arrogant.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's that.
That's Harry for you.
That's Harry. Well, like I say, I'm like, other people probably tried to vent the airplane before, somebody succeeded and made it work and phones and all that. So, partially, like, okay, fine. You don't know when the last time someone looked into this and how many more strides in magical technology. But anyways, yes, I do kind of like that. Yes, he's like, I haven't looked before. But anyways, not the point. I actually have something different. And Papa's like, I'm excited already. I don't know what it is, but oh my God, it's
Thank
something
God,
else.
just something else. Yeah. And I was gonna also add in, like, I don't think a spirit of intellect would get bored being alone with his thoughts all day long. Like, that's just who you are. It's like if we get bored of, like, breathing oxygen. Like,
Maybe, yes.
like, it's just like, that's just what you are. Like, you just do it, right? But I can, at least on this point, being bored of vampires and vampire research, I can see Bob being like, fucking finally.
Yes.
Drinks.
Right.
So, what's the case, Harry? Tell us what's going on. Ronald Reuel. I don't want to be no. Let's go back to the vampire thing. Bob instantly knows who that is.
Well, he knows who that is, but he's more like, well, who's asking you?
Yeah, why is
He's
this
like,
why the fuck is this our business?
Yeah, he's like, oh, you think he was murdered? He's like, I don't think anything. The cops think it was an accident. And he's like, well, then you. And he's like, yeah, I don't think of my client. He's like, well, who's your client? He's like, well, Mab said, but wait, what? Mab? The Mab? What? Yeah, okay, now let's go. Yeah. I think it was fine finding out who the victim was, but once he finds out who the client is, then he's like, nope.
I love his logic, though. You should have bartered with a stolen baby.
I know. What? I know. He's like, here's what I ask you, why you don't spend your time doing something safe and more boring, like maybe administering suppositories to rabid gorillas. Yeah, and he's like, I live for the challenge, or you don't. But,
Thanks
yeah,
for the
right.
advice,
Because then he's like, well, I didn't have a choice. Like, Lisa sold my dad. He's like, you didn't even try to, like, yeah, trade a baby for Bob. He's like, well, I'm just saying. You wear such a goody two shoes all the time. Yeah, stolen, and not even just stolen an extra baby or something.
Didn't even try. So yeah, so Harry has no idea who Ronald Reuel is, but Bob is like, hello, he's the summer knight.
Like, maybe that's why Mab cares.
And he's like,
literally drops his pencil. He's like, well, fuck.
because we know, like, Mab came in and she's like, I'm being accused of a murder that I didn't do. I want you to find the killer. And he's like, all right, no more questions, please.
Yeah. Well,
That's all I need to
He's
know.
like, okay, well, like, why? I'm like, when something's missing, well, what's missing? Well, you'll figure that out.
Yeah, it's not like she helped much.
Yeah, honestly, he did try to find out a little bit of some stuff, but she was just, like, straight up like, I'm gonna tell you. If you loved me, no, I shouldn't have to tell you. Just figure it out, Harry. Gee whiz, Harry, maybe because he was a summer night.
That means trouble.
I especially like that, like, Elaine has shown up too, and he still didn't know. Like, you guys even talk at all?
Yeah, no. Not about anything important.
No.
He's like, oh my god, you're alive. She's like, duh, Harry, get over it. And he's like, let's go to the council. And she was like, no. And then they're like, okay, I love you, bye. That was pretty much the whole. I still love you, bye. P.S. If this is Austin.
Yeah, so at this point we learn about the knights. The knights are mortals entrusted with the power of the Sidhe courts. They're in charge of acting in affairs not related to the Sidhe. Bob basically tells them that they're like the hitmen, and the queens can't directly kill an outsider of the court. But tricks, of course, are above board.
Yeah, if you, as Bob says, if you just blunder your way in and don't even try to trade a baby or anything, then, but yeah, exactly. So if you have made a deal and you somehow, whether you knew it or not, technically by your own free will, then they can do whatever. But yeah, they're not allowed to just willy-nilly pop out and start like just,
wailing,
striking down, smiting mortals in the mortal world, right? So yes. So the knights have to be mortal, and they are imbued with a measure of power. They get to do with the queen. Yeah, if for some reason she's not, she gets to just assign them to go do whatever she thinks need doing if she can't directly act. And he's like, okay, so just tell me, I'm okay, am I gonna die or not? And Bob's like, well, duh, you're always gonna fucking die. Or he's like, great. It's like, because it's like, how much trouble am I in? And don't call them fairies. Oh yeah, that's what it was. He was like, off topic. Do I don't have to worry about getting killed? He's like, of course you do.
Bob throws in like a quick tidbit here, and he's like, the Sidhe are the closest supernatural to the mortal world.
Yes.
Like, they're basically like the first barrier, first level of supernatural or whatever like that, next to mortal. So that's an interesting thing to know,
They're like...
For everyone else, you hit them first.
The Sidhe is to humans like humans are to chimps, kind of. It's like a whole, like, the next closest
Next
thing.
step over.
Actually,
Evolution.
isn't
Magical
it,
evolution.
Actually, isn't it pigs or something, though, that technically we're, like, one molecule or
Well, yeah,
DNA
all of
or
our,
something
like,
away
all
from...
of our skin grafting is, like, from pigs.
Yeah. But anyways, regardless is that, yeah, they're our closest cousins.
So that's interesting. And then, obviously Bob is like, listen, like, both are bad if one... Like, he explains, like, the whole balance thing. You've got to have constant balance between the two. And, like, one might get a bit of an edge over the other one, like summer solstice, winter solstice, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But for the most part, there has to be an almost perfect balance between them, because one left unchecked is going to ruin the world in one way or another, which Bob uses the examples of, you've got, like, eternal winter, or we've got Ebola growing everywhere. Like,
Yeah. Like a heat wave. He's like, that doesn't sound so bad.
Also figure out that why Mab is so concerned, why the suspicion ends up on her, is because in theory she could have had him indirectly killed. And the result, the issue is being the theft of his power, and not so much about the death of the knight himself. The power should have returned to Summer Queen, and that leaves the Summer Queen in like this weakened state. So that makes it look really bad.
It's kind of an arch nemesis thing to do.
Extra weird, like, why didn't it go back to her when it should have? So, like, you know, you've got to be some sort of powerful to have subverted that power as well, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is their working theory right now, that they figure this has to be the deal or whatever, right? And Bob also brings up an interesting point. He's like, well, do you know Mab didn't do it? And he's like, you know, like, did she? And he's like, okay, well, no, obviously, she, you know, being Mab, never came right out and say it. She kind of hedged around, so I guess she could have actually done it and is still just trying to weasel her way out of it or whatever.
Some kind of ulterior motive,
Yeah, because that's what he said. He's like, I guess it is kind of an arch nemesis-y thing to do or whatever, but...
Right, so then trying to determine who has enough mojo to do it is basically like, okay, so only the queens could have done this, so I literally has to be Mab or Tiana, framing the other one for some reason. And Bob's like,
or the
whoa,
knights, I think he does say.
Yeah, he's like, or the knights. So you've got like 3 people. You've got like the Winter Knight, Mab, or Tatiana. And the
Titania.
And then Bob's like,
call her Tatiana.
Excuse me, Mr. Stupid Idiot. There's way more players, you dumb stupid idiot. And he also, like, Harry's ass. He's like, oh, like, can a wizard do it? And he's like, he could, but you'd fucking know about it. Like, no way a wizard's gonna get away with that without, like, the biggest collateral damage in the world that we all know about. Like,
yeah, which is kind of funny. He's like, to make it look like an accident would have been a lot more work and trouble. Like, it just wouldn't have been worth it. Just blow him up or something. Yeah. But I do like, right, where, because he's like, how much power are we talking and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, a flight of stairs wouldn't have done it. 2 flights of stairs wouldn't have done it. Maybe if you took an elevator ride with you. Okay, Bob. So yes, he's like, well, it goes without saying, yes, a wizard could have, but it wouldn't have been, you know, the amount of time and effort and power and cover up
and delicacy
it just seems like way more hassle to have a wizard do it and hide it like that. They just
So then that's how we find out that there is actually 3 branches of government in the courts. You've got
3 queens in each court. What?
So yeah, you've got the queen who was, the queen who is, and the queen who will be. Which doesn't mean much when you're immortal, you know?
No.
But still, was, is, will be. AKA you've got the mother, the queen, and the lady in each court.
Right. So we start to get a little bit of an overview of what the major players are in these 2 courts. So like Summer Court, like the queen, Titania. So how do you say her?
Yeah, Titania, but it's just not Tatiana that she keeps trying to switch to the other.
Titania is what I was trying to say.
Titania.
For Summer, we have the queen who was the mother, which we don't know who that is yet. Yeah. The queen who is to come, which is the lady, Aurora. The knight, who was Ronald Reuel. And the emissary, which is Elaine Mallory. And then in winter, we've got Mab as the queen who was also not mentioned. The queen who's to come is Maeve, the lady. And the knight, we don't know anything about anything at all for winter. And the emissary, of course, is Harry.
Again, conveniently enough, Bob's contacts on the winter side are all sketchy. He knows exactly who the winter knight or the summer knight was. And, well, gee, Harry, maybe it's because he's a summer knight. But he's like, oh, yeah, I got no clue who winter is. Like, thanks a lot. Thanks.
So he's basically got 8 suspects right now at this point, which is like, wow, way to narrow it down.
And this is where he mentioned, he brings it up that technically Elaine has, you know, and because Bob's like, whoa, wait, what? Although actually Bob does a big fat I told you so as well. So apparently Bob never did specifically.
He didn't think Elaine was dead.
Yeah.
But this is like, it's super interesting because Bob is actually the only other...
and I told you so.
Bob is the only other person who actually knows who Elaine was. He was there for all of it. He knew... Yeah. Like, as much as Harry would have been aware of Bob at the time of stealing Bob, Elaine would have been alone, would have been aware of, and Bob would have been then aware of the 2 of them, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, if anyone knows about Elaine and who and what she's about, it's Bob. And he even says as much. He's like, you were more powerful, but she had a better handler. She was better,
yeah, she was. Because I was going to say, I guess the only person in Harry's life that actually everybody else has just heard about her through Harry. He's the only one that actually knows Elaine in his own personal face-to-face, whatever it is I'm trying to say, kind of, but yeah.
Yeah, no one who's actually met her besides Harry.
Yeah.
Who lived to tell the tale.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, and again, that throws a little bit more legitimacy onto Elaine, just in okay, we get the tiniest bit more backstory about her and what things are about. Still not enough to really, do anything for her. But still, it's like, at least, he tried a little bit. He's like, now everyone for the rest of the book is going to talk about her.
Yeah. Yeah, and he doesn't really, because Bob is like, oh, so you think she might have dacked Reuel or whatever? And he's like, no, but I never saw it coming and she jumped on me either. Again, he's still got some of the petty, but he's like, basically I just have to think, like, if she could have, not whether or not I think she did or not, right? So it still places her. Which is okay, because I gives him a few, because he basically had to narrow and, like, cut out all the rest of the wizards, because that was just made it too big a suspect pool. So he's like, okay, wizard could have done it, let's just pretend they didn't, but we'll throw in these couple. No idea about, I could say, the winter side of it, but, Elaine is both a wizard and in the fold, had means and opportunity, potentially, or whatever, so.
Right.
Oh, how jaded and logical of you, Harry, I'm almost proud.
So yeah, real quick, Fairy 101.
Right.
Yeah.
So Dresden concludes that he needs to find more information about the summer night.
And the winter night.
Yeah. But
He needs to find out every information.
He's going to do it by breaking and entering his place and then attending his funeral. Nothing like a little respect for the dead.
Seriously.
Right. Well, I guess maybe that's why he's going to go do it beforehand. Then he can go say sorry at the funeral. It seems worse if you go pay your respects and then burglarize the guy's place.
By the way, your place looks like shit.
Yeah. Ooh, you are lucky you're in there. You do not want to know what they did to you. Yeah.
Bob issues another warning to Harry about Mab just before Harry leaves the lab.
And this, I feel like, because again, right, because right before that, he's still wisecracky, like, oh, gee, can I do fun things like go and break and enter? And then, but then he's like, hey, like, kind of calls him back because Harry's leaving. And he gets kind of, like, serious for a moment. He's like, hey, for what it's worth, be careful. And you're like, whoa, shit, what? Bob is what?
Bob is serious.
Oh, shit, bad things are going to happen. Harry, don't do it, Because normally Bob's like, okay, bye, have fun storming the castle. I'll sing a song at your funeral. But yeah, if he actually, like, brings it back a moment, is like, hey, by the way, be careful, good luck. And it's like, ooh, shit. Harry doesn't really acknowledge it or anything like that. But it's like, well, Harry, it was nice knowing you.
Well, you gotta die sometime.
Thank you to our Patreon subscribers for your generous support. It's people like you who help us do what we do. If you're not yet a Patreon subscriber, sign up today and get a fuck ton of bonus content, kick-ass merch, behind-the-scenes outtakes, and more. Sign up today at patreon.com/freeflowrambling. Chapter 11. Dresden pays a visit to Ronald Reuel's apartment, only to find he wasn't the first person to have the same idea. Harry confronts and steals a photograph from the other trespasser, only to end up in an altercation which reveals the man to be an ogre. The fight ends prematurely with the neighbors calling the police and both parties leaving the scene.
So we don't know where he made those couple of phone calls to, if that was anything interesting or just pure anonymous backstory.
Probably nothing.
Probably
won't come up again.
I'm sure.
That's not like Jim Butcher.
Yeah, it's this is literally just a background detail.
Just, add some legitimacy. Harry went to the bathroom before he left the house.
Exactly, right.
Made a phone call.
Yeah, made a phone call, grabbed his
bills.
backpack, and sallied forth. So this is interesting. I kind of want to know what Ronald's building looks like. Because he says it's at the south end of the loop, or south edge of the loop, which means virtually nothing to me other than we've heard him reference the loop, or he will reference the loop. But a building that looks like it had once been a theater. I'm like, this could potentially be a really cool apartment. So not only because he says he has this big, giant, enormous, vaulted lobby, but I was like, what kind of rooms and things?
Rent is probably crazy.
Oh, probably. Right. And
horrible.
And, it's all full of, old, retired, established artists and things that have
I guess if you're the summer night, you can afford it.
I was going to say that, but I don't think Harry's made a single fucking dollar.
Yeah, but
as the winter night.
Mab is much crueler.
Titania has a nice stipend set up for her.
I was like, I just don't take Titania as being nice at all.
But
Anyways,
anyways,
yes.
maybe he supposedly was a successful cutting edge artist, so maybe
Right.
he actually, instead of a poor starving artist that wasn't recognized until he was dead, maybe he actually was making some, or
some bank.
who knows, maybe he had a nice 9 to 5 job, professor or something beforehand, and built up a nice little nest egg, and now he's just living off his art. I don't know, but it sounds kind of cool.
He went
and
to
it
the
sounds
army,
like
he
someplace
became a teacher, he did a couple novels.
right. So he has this cool looking place that he goes in, and he just waltzes in an FTD hat from the box. It's like you can get in anywhere if you with a hat, a box, and a confident stride. He does that. So well, he kind of did it in the last book with the janitor as well. He just look like you're supposed to be there, and people be like, "All right, you're supposed to be there." And pretty sure there's another place he wanders in with like a clipboard and stuff, and it's like, yeah, just like fucking act like you're supposed to be there, and no one will stop you.
So you should tell people that you're in IT. You'd be surprised how many people don't actually check who the hell I am when I go on site. They're like, yeah, okay, the server's over there.
Right? Be like,
Wow.
thank you. I am about to blow up your entire building.
People come to me in the middle of the night at the gas station, like, I have to go in the back to do something. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna let you in. I'm gonna also watch you for a minute to make sure you don't steal anything from the safe. You look like you know what you're doing. All right. I don't ask for credentials either. I'm like, you have a truck. You're wearing a uniform. Good enough for me?
Right? They don't pay me enough for this shit.
Pretty much. I will say, though, that I really like the image. Because, again, like, he said this right here. He's like, you'd be surprised how many places will let you in if you wear a hat and a clipboard. And I'm like, I just like to imagine, like, his closet is like duster, like Star Wars, sweatpants, janitor costume, electrician costume. Like Don's hobby shop. It's just like,
I prefer to think of Mr. Dressup's tickle trunk. Yeah, like every time he needs something, that just happens to be what's in there that day.
It's fully the outfit he needs,
Right?
Yeah.
He's got, like, Tans has got a kind of nice little hat collection, but he's got, like, a branded baseball cap collection, of, like, his Coke hat and his FTD hat. And
So, like, the Doctor Who, like, shows the badge.
It's like, oh my god, Butcher, why have you not given Dresden his own psychic paper by now? Right? He could totally imagine. He could,
Psychic paper would be so cool. I want that in the Dresden file.
Bob would love to work on that and find a way to create that with him. He'd probably be like, that would just play into Bob's whole little, this is cool and interesting, plus it's kind of like sneaky and
subterfuge.
And what's the word I'm looking for? Like,
wrong?
No, we're
Ethically wrong?
Where Bob doesn't have a real good sense of, like, morals or not or whatever, right? Just that
Ethically
toy that, ethically questionable or whatever, where you'd be like, yeah, okay, sure, what are you going to do with this, huh, Harry? So it's okay to use it for this, but you won't use it to go get into the, Anyways, so yeah, he psychic papers his way in with his box.
Yeah, but anyways, it's still funny to think, like, he just, like, how many costumes do you really have, Harry, for this shit?
Teeny tiny wardrobe that,
right.
It's like...
Or even better, like,
I've,
his last $7 is spent renting a costume. No clown knows today, boss.
Right.
So, yes, gets into the building, heads up to Ronald Reuel's apartment, which just so happens to be 429B.
No, it doesn't happen to be. He says it looks like it could be.
Oh, could be. Oh, I thought it said it was.
No, it's not actually.
It describes it as being imported from 429B Baker Street, which is actually an incorrect Sherlock Holmes reference.
I thought it was always
221B Baker Street.
Yeah. Maybe this is like some like weird obscure fact that like once in the first book and then after that it changed to like 221, because I was gonna say, I was like, that is not the address that I recognize it ever being.
And why would Jim Butcher get that note wrong?
I don't know. Or there was like one thing where it's like
though.
it started as that and then it like burned down and they rebuilt it like 221. I don't
Google
know.
it all? We should know.
I forgot to.
We're
Yeah,
supposed to be the
I did some
experts
research
here.
on it to make sure, and I found out that it's not. It's incorrect.
Could not
But
find
the address
any.
is wrong.
Interesting.
And he doesn't notice that he does check on the way up to like the murder scene or whatever, and he's like, he can't find any lingering magic or anything to tell him anything there, so it's all been covered up. He stops and listens just to make sure when he gets to that floor, which, gee, good thing you did, Harry.
Finds the apartment in shambles with a thug inside collecting papers into his bag. Yeah. Dresden knows he needs to intervene and kind of debates on how he's going to go about it. He realizes evocation and physical confrontation would be terrible, not a good idea. So he still pretends to be this delivery man. Like, okay,
Right?
worked the first time. Why not?
So Harry decides he's going to keep up his delivery ruse despite the fact that someone is in the apartment.
Yeah, because he looks like a catalog model for Thugs R Us. Yeah. He's like, and he's like a hand taller than Harry even. So this guy's like 7 foot minimum.
Big.
So, yeah, he's like, fisticuffs, bad idea.
How to get my ass handed to me? That would be one way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it also does spark a few other things because he's like, yeah, why is somebody else tossing his apartment and obviously collecting things, right? He's like,
I wonder why.
If the guy just fell down the stairs, there'd be no reason. So the fact that they're looking for evidence or removing evidence implies that there's evidence to be had. And I'm like, okay. And so,
It really supports Mab's sort of,
Yes,
this is
there's
not.
far,
what's
yeah.
this-
There's something hinky going on. This is
Or Mab could have hired this thug to go and like make Harry suspicious,
Like-
and stay on the trail.
There's that too.
Well, yeah. Good point.
Good point. We don't know, who knows how Matt's minds work, but exactly. So it gives him something to go on. So he's like, okay, I want to figure out what the fuck is in this satchel that's so important that he's, tearing the place apart to look for it. And plus, part of it is too, like, he just is like, ugh, I probably shouldn't kill like all the other residents, so maybe I won't. My first instinct isn't always to. I'll keep it a little on the down low. I won't go in guns blazing or rods blazing, as the case may be. So. Yeah. So it's kind of funny because the guy's like, what do you want? He's like, you want to sign for these? He's like, no. He's like, rules not here. He's like, I care. And the guy's like, fine, I'll just sign for that. like it's like the thug doesn't really know what to do. Like, when you're faced with somebody that just won't give you the reaction or whatever that, he's just like, I don't care. I got to drop
Look,
these
man, I got to
flowers.
deliver a package.
Yeah, you going to sign for these? Or am I going to stand here all day waiting for Rule to come back so he can sign here, right? So he uses that opportunity, so it's like, fine. So
he says, he's like, what are you delivering? He's like, just flowers, man. He's like, flowers? Why would someone send flowers? He's like, just delivery boy, man. I don't give a fuck why people send anything. And then, I don't smell flowers.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And right before that, he managed to swipe a paper from
Yeah, so he goes
Grum.
puts the box on the table and manages to
Grab
something a little bigger than a playing card. Yeah, and then he's like, all right, peace out. And I'm thinking like, so you're just gonna come back in a couple hours to get your blasting rod? You're gonna like get downstairs and like suck it out the window? Like, you're just, once again, you've just taken
Leaving
your
your shit.
magical defense. Yeah, right.
Oh, did he put it back in the box?
Yeah,
Oh, I
it's
missed that entirely.
Yeah, because again, he has nowhere else to hide it or put it or anything, and so he puts it back in the box and then puts the flower box on the thing, and it's like, all right, see ya. And then, he's like, wait a minute, I don't smell flowers. He's like,
smell
and then he just takes it up a notch. It's like, not even just like, I don't smell flowers. It's like, I do smell magic. I smell wizard. And Harry's like,
Oh, supernatural, great. Which, like, you literally got hired by a fairy, and you're like, oh, this guy's got something about him.
yeah.
The summer night's apartment is getting tossed on
By
a
this
deal that
guy
you got
that-
hired by a fairy who looks like he's out of a bad Godfather film.
Yeah, the Untouchables or something
Like-
like that. Because, it looks like every standard thing, It's like, this isn't tripping any bell.
Who could have known he was supernatural?
So immediately like grabs him by the throat, and Harry's like, "Well, fuck." So he can't really
delivery boy.
he can't really talk and do anything, and his blasting rod is out of reach on the. So thankfully, because he was paying attention, he was hired by fairies, so he has a nice rusty nail in his pocket. So thankfully, his guess is correct, and it
And he
reacts
gets thrown across the room as a result.
right.
Right into Ronald Reuel's bed.
Although I'm like, most things probably would have had a relatively similar reaction to having a nail stabbed
Yeah.
into their forearm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Ouch, that hurt. I throw you away.
Even outside the iron, yeah.
I was gonna say, this had a little extra bite to it, but I was like, you're a human being. If you like stab and like rip a nail into their arm, we're probably gonna be like,
Fuck yeah.
But anyways,
Except this guy. Grum's changed. His appearance changes now, and he's only dressed in a loincloth, and he's 12 feet tall.
yeah, instead of 7 feet tall.
That's where Dresden realizes Grum is an ogre. Oh, crap.
Not cool.
Things are worse.
Yeah.
What have I done?
And then I like the whole like rolling on the floor as he tries to like stomp at your head.
Yeah, he's like rolling under the bed and like back to the other side, and which is nice because that's what he said. He's like, here I got, threw him like clear across into the other room, but he got lucky because instead of hitting one of the giant, massive, posters on like this 4-poster bed posts on this 4-poster bed, he just hits the mattress and like bounces up into the wall. But it's a good thing because otherwise he would have broken his back. That would have been bad.
That would have been so bad.
That would have been so
What would he have
bad,
done then?
Right? Matt, we got a wrinkle in the ointment here. Fly in the ointment. Anyways.
You're ruining my 10-year plan.
This goes back to Morgan, where he's like, let's just get to the point. And Morgan's like, hey, normally I appreciate that, but Harry's like, let's just speed it up. Let's just skip the next crap. Let's just jump straight to.
We don't need a books 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 if we just do it now.
Yeah, so then he manages to. So I guess now that he's like being less choked, he can do his little Ventus Servetus spell.
Gets his blasting.
Not so good at the non-verbals here, Harry. Like, did you skip that year? Just to not go.
Also hard to think when you're being choked.
Lack of oxygen. Meh.
Well, he was busy thinking enough to say that like it's too late to use his shield bracelet, and he couldn't get to his blasting rod. So then he pulled out the nail. I'm like, there was enough thinking going on there. But regardless, so yeah, he blasts his blasting rod in and tries to blast him with some fire, and it does nothing. it doesn't even singe his. Like, not only does it not like burn his skin or anything, it like doesn't even singe his hair. He's like,
ogres are totally fine against fire.
Pretty much. He's like, yeah, they're pretty magic proof or whatever. But I'm like, it should have still done like a little bit. But obviously, this guy is pretty old or whatever, and yeah, it does.
Right, he's described as pretty powerful.
Yeah, it does nothing.
And in control, because an ogre should just have, like, lost his shit, but this guy actually manages to sort of think, plan in some ways, and, like, be able to pull himself back when he needs to.
Yeah, exactly, because, that's the other thing he says. He's like, they all have, like, a certain amount, but he's like, he grounded it out like it was nothing, and exactly had sort of more tactical, wherewithal. I know, as he normally he describes them from anywhere from like maliciously violent to like psychotically violent or something.
Yeah, Grum attacks Dresden in the bedroom, but Dresden manages to scramble out of the way towards the exit. And just as he almost escapes, a chair slams into him. Like, almost got out of there.
That's described as like a throne, but doesn't quite. And so he's about to get a hand on him again, and that's really not a good thing. And then you hear the neighbor like, I'm gonna call, and this was always such a funny, like, you fruits. Like,
yeah, right.
Is this what little old ladies call it? People making noise disturbances? Like, I was like, you hooligans or something even, but I was like, fruits.
The language is especially weird. Once we meet this neighbor again later and find out who this neighbor was, it's like, why did you say any of that?
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, I mean, the other, like, what's all the racket? I called the police and stuff like that, kind of. But yes, it is.
They're already on their way here.
It is just a very weird exchange and very.
And then on top of that, so Grum is like, fuck, like, I gotta go. Like, he fucking storms out of there or whatever, like that. And Harry's safe. And then the neighbor is still like, you too, boy, you gotta get out of here too. And it's like, again, knowing later on who that neighbor is, it's like, well, why'd you have to kick Harry out then too? Like, why not let him go through the apartment now?
Really had to sell it. Just had to commit to
but just like, it's funny, like knowing who the neighbor is, that she still like didn't even let Harry like go through the apartment. And it's like, all right,
I know
that isn't actually that helpful.
There's no clues here, Harry.
Like, you got the one paper you needed. Get out.
All right.
So Grum backs away and he grabs his satchel, redisguises himself, and then he leaves. Because he takes the bait. The police are on the way.
Yeah. So yeah.
And does hear sirens legitimately.
Right.
Yeah, he says he does. Well, he hears them, although she did say she makes a siren noise. But he does pass sirens. He passes some cars, I think, going in or whatever.
And then he gets to study his stolen piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like, I'd be disappointed if this is all I managed to grab. Just a guy and his young friends.
It kind of is.
Disney World.
Right? Because he's kind of like...
fun in Disney Park. Okay.
Yeah, well, he does kind of. He's like, who are they? Why had Reuel been with them? And why is this important? Like, really, he is kind of going like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Doesn't take a lot more time than that.
Some people that he knew.
Just somebody that he used to know.
This concludes our episode 9.9, Fee Fi Fo Grum. Thank you for listening. You can find us online at freeflowrambling.com and McAnallys.ca. There we have links to our other podcasts, social media, and other fun tidbits. Please subscribe if you like what you're hearing, and please consider supporting us through Patreon to keep the magic alive and to see more content. We are Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk.